And we're back with another fun and exciting season commentary with Did You Know Anime. My name is Mike, and with me is my good buddy John.
Hello again, everybody. So nice to be here.
And we, today, are going to be going over the entirety of Season 4 of Did You Know Anime. And I want to say that started in sometime in 2016. I believe the first one started in 2016. So as of this recording, it's about 2 years old, almost 3. And it's been a little while, John, hasn't it?
Well, better late than never, right? Right. I mean, we're asking viewers now to tell us when stuff premiered.
Isn't that crazy that IMDb now has a... I'm not going to say pretty strict, because some people still kind of mess that up. But the important part is that people care.
It's the thought that counts.
Exactly.
Yes. Sit back, relax, and
here we go.
Did you know?
I can't right now remember everything in Season 4, but I can't forget how Season 4 started.
Across the oceans over the years, the manga itself may be permanently in limbo. According to the South American manga publishing company, Editorial Ivrea, Kadokawa Shoten, the manga publisher in Japan, was not authorizing any foreign releases outside of Japan.
Yeah.
Nowadays manga isn't the only version of the property.
I remember when that was a thing. Everybody just started going around saying, nice boat. Wow, yeah, 2007, 2008. Oh my gosh, seems like a lifetime ago.
It was an eternity ago in memes. Were memes even a word in 2007?
I saw some post about somebody saying something ancient YouTube or ancient YouTubers in 2006, 7, 8, and I go, oh my gosh. I remember when there wasn't YouTube.
With a 30-minute slideshow of scenery set to August Wilhelmich's Air on the G string. But what would ultimately come out of this visual sleight of hand would be one of the biggest memes in anime. While watching the MS Skagastov, a viewer on the internet captioned a screenshot of the ship with the title, "Nice boat."
I was waiting for it. So yeah, did this one, is this one of those cases where this one came about more from who the narrator was going to be? Like, did he approach you and then you...
And I figured, Yandere Dev, and then I got the idea of, Yandere-related shows. I don't remember who it was, how the idea of getting this particular show, but I just thought, it works. What's more yandere than School Days?
Yeah, really.
Premise of children murdering each other in a survival game, the action thriller Future Diary actually wasn't inspired by the groundbreaking Battle Royale franchise. When author Sakai Asuno
I remember when this came out.
About it in an interview,
and
it is true that I often hear people compare my manga.
But this is an interesting kind of counterpoint. Maybe that's not the right word, but oftentimes we do things that such and such was inspired by such and such. And here, this is one of those cases where everybody immediately, justifiably thinks, oh, Battle Royale, ? And you actually have to have an author coming out, whether it's always true or not, or they're remembering right, or I'm not, questioning the veracity of anything here, but or the sincerity of Sakai, but sometimes that is the shocking truth, is when there isn't a connection that you thought there might be one.
Well, I think it's also good too, because I think it kind of takes away from, we're talking about the ancient Greek and now Ava and, Rumiko Takahashi and whatnot. It kind of takes away from those a little bit when everybody's like, Battle Royale, Battle Royale, Battle Royale. And it's like, that's not the thing, I think it's just as important to debunk that stuff than it is to, say what the inspirations are. But in this particular case, they came right after each other.
I see that all the time. It's completely unrelated to this, but Lum and Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo.
Oh yeah,
you see that crop up a lot, and I see that, and it makes sense. But at the same time, that's one of those. It's like, well, I've never actually seen, a credible source suggest that or confirm that. And so it's just one of those things where, again, yeah, sometimes we draw connections that might not be there.
Culminating to his destiny as god of his own universe, thematically resemble Evangelion's young male protagonist Shinji's destiny concerning Third Impact and his decision.
Yeah, when I heard the Eva inspirations and then I heard about what he was doing with some of his work, like so many things, I mean, the impact, pun intended, of Evangelion, it's, you immediately go up, there it is, it's unmistakable.
For all the latest facts and trivia.
That was the old logo. That was before I updated it to 4K.
And if you like killer schoolgirls, you might be interested in checking out Yandere Simulator. It's a game about...
It's a great way to preface something. If you like killer schoolgirls, then you'll love, like, Netflix or something.
Are you still watching?
I hope that's going well for him, though. Oh yeah, Psycho-Pass.
Did you know? The dystopian
I'm still not all caught up on that,
but
but I saw the first episode when it came out, and I was really impressed. And then I heard Urabuchi being thrown around. I went, yeah, I see that.
As of this recording, there's actually another movie coming out, so...
Oh, wow. Wow.
Along with such sci-fi films as The Minority Report, Gattaca, Brazil, and Blade Runner.
Great movies there.
Doesn't get much more cyberpunk than those, you know?
I don't know why this is the case, and maybe it's just a perception, but I still feel like Gattaca is very underrated. I don't know why. It's a great movie.
Held by suspect Yuji Kanahara has the label Johnny Mnemonic, the same title as the 1995 movie that actor Keanu Reeves stars in, which involves virtual reality, computer data, and...
Dolph Lundgren was in that movie?
Not everything that
I'll have to go back and watch that.
was dystopian or Western, however. In episode 15, there is a bent golden baseball bat. This is very
Of course,
similar to the bat
I haven't listened to this one in a while. Sapphire's voice is lovely. I think it was, I can't remember how long before we ended up doing this, but I was a fan of her singing work and covers that she does on YouTube and probably elsewhere, but so that was great, just getting to have her do this. Animation studio production IG originally conceived the series as a successor to the works. I mean, really one of those. I listen to a lot of cover singers, but specifically the Pat Labor and Ghost in the Shell franchise. If they still did that nowadays, if they still did English versions of openings, she'd be, I'd say, top of the list of who studios should be calling to do it. He found his man in Urabuchi,
The man, the Urabucher.
was airing at the time and had greatly impressed Motohiro and his staff. Motohiro wanted his series to directly counter current anime trends, and even went so far as to ban the usage of the word moe at staff meetings.
I really love when you see the collaboration and you see a director or writer or somebody going, I really want to work with so-and-so because I'm impressed by the way they do things and approach things, versus, as is so often the case, you have these creative differences or power struggles, and people just want, yes men, I just want a writer who will do what I dictate. I just want a director who will adapt.
Or,
exactly.
The committee behind the anime just grabs a bunch of random people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get some good stuff, but you gotta have people who care, and you gotta have people who are good. I know a lot of people were like, no moe, but insert random stupid otaku reason because they like moe, but it's like, look, something like that this is unique, that's what made it so different. That's why it's got a movie coming out, it's because it made an impact doing the things that it was, and sometimes you gotta do stuff like that. You gotta lay down the law.
I think it's just when it was made, and we're still kind of in that time now where, it's just you've had been inundated with something for so long that you kind of have to emphasize that to your staff and, with whom you're working. We don't want to do X. We want to do something else. Not saying never do X, not saying X is good or bad, but we've had enough X for now. Let's not do.
Also, I just want to give a shout out to all of our narrators for having to understand names in different languages and weird pronunciations and all that, because good lord, going through some of these painstakingly trying to figure out which one is right is, I know it's tough, so props to all the people that we work with.
Yeah, it's such a challenge. And you might just think, oh, if I were doing something on anime, I'd better get my Japanese pronunciation down to an extent, and that's true, but then it's amazing how much other stuff, German and Latin and, all kinds of other languages.
This little graphic here was kind of a pain in the butt to make, but it was cool. When I put all the things up, and then it would pan over to a different one and have those animate again.
Great job here. And I could see why you don't do that too much. One,
it takes a long time, and then also
it makes it unique.
Also making sure the dates were right on those too. Those were because even though fan-made wikis, some of them are really awesome, sometimes Wikipedia's got a source that says otherwise, and then sometimes this station ran it first, and it's just like, good lord. And also go check out Sapphire. Phenomenal voice, and she's a great singer.
A little shout out to our buddy Chuck Walker, helped on this script.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
Oh boy. Gundam. It's a Gundam.
This was immensely satisfying to do. Once again, thank you to Mr. August Ragone. Anime fan doesn't even begin to do justice.
If you look at, anime fans, we've made the joke or analogy before. It's not even a joke. If, anime fans had social security numbers, he'd be 1 or 2. I think, now that Fred Patton has passed away, it's like Fred Patton was probably number 1, but August would be number 2. I mean, he was right there in the 70s. And he had such an integral part of this, too, because a lot of the stuff that he knew, you just can't find on the internet. It's just not on the internet. And his experience with this franchise and many older franchises around the late 70s and early 80s, it was invaluable.
His personal and professional connections, his knowledge of the language, him having a lot of times these things are published in Japanese works, but they're not on the internet, or at least certainly not where English speaking fans can find them. And so I remember Gunboy, that kind of being upending for a lot of people, and I can understand that, but August knows his stuff.
1976 book, The High Frontier: Human Colonies in Space. Another inspiration for the name Gundam, besides freedom, derived from the Japanese ad campaign for a men's toilet.
That one I had no idea about. That so I was like, what?
Charles Bronson. Director Yoshiyuki Tomino sought to accomplish far more with Mobile Suit Gundam than launch.
So this was an interesting one where, again, as with many, we have 3 sections. And as I recall, August did a lot with the first one. I kind of headed the section 1, and then you were pretty much all the third one. And of course, I believe so, yeah. We're all editing and looking at each other's as well, but
while simultaneously acknowledging the indelible sacrifice made by so many of Japan.
I remember this was kind of a sore spot for people. I don't know why. It seems to bother people when, you just bring up that, lots of these franchises, the creators are inspired by certain things, and a lot of times they're making certain statements, and a lot of times they're very political statements. And I think it's just weird how in America we have this idea of, there's politics over here in this little corner, and we only care about that when we're voting, and then there's other things that are not political. And it's like, well, I'm sorry to break it to you that politics kind of shapes everything. You don't have to set out always to do something political, but and then this, of course, I recall this caused a stir, and basically of course, Gundam didn't create pornography or, written or drawings or visual things like that. But it's one of those things you just don't think about how what we're saying here. I think that was as clickbaity as we've ever gotten. Like, Gundam created hentai question mark.
And even then, it wasn't even like that. It was, just trying to... we weren't saying Gundam created hentai. We said it inspired the people who would go on to make hentai.
Quote unquote, as we know it.
As we know it, according to these people who have written books on Japanese culture, which Gundam was a part of.
Meaning the industry making animation explicitly pornographic information, and for those purposes. And it's something that is so ubiquitous now. Here we are in 2018, that the idea of that really wasn't a thing. Not only a few decades ago. It does kind of make your gears stop turning. You're like, what? That can't be right. But well, look at my sources. I mean,
how does that one quote from the Bible go? Am I your enemy because I told you the truth? Is that how that goes? Also, that's something unique too. We're so used to director's cuts of things over here, or like the original movie and then a director's cut. In a way, Gundam was kind of like that early on with anime that you don't see a lot, where Tomino didn't want that one episode in because he didn't think it was up to the quality, and he didn't want overseas fans. And this is one of my favorite graphics I've ever made. I spent like 2.5 hours making that.
How could I forget that one? Oh my god,
that was so much fun to make.
Proving that a loyal fan base did indeed exist. And once Bandai took over, boom.
Now, we write these scripts. We sometimes people throw little things here and there, but like, I mean, that end there, August, boom, that was all him. And I love that. He's just, anime is such a big part of his life, and it's and other things like that, Godzilla and all of that. So check out his stuff. He's
absolutely. He is one of the elder statesmen of anime for sure.
He's one of our venerated elders. Yes, I hope he's not offended by the term elder at this point. This was fun. I'm sorry we couldn't keep the train going consecutively.
Well, we'll get back to Gundam at some point.
Absolutely. But people, once this came out right after the previous one, people were like, oh, is this going to be all Gundam for a while?
That was not originally how it was intended to go. However, it worked out advantageously that way.
That it did.
A place far away from the Japan that your average young Japanese viewer is familiar with. Director Seiji Mizushima was asked in New Type about Setsuna being a former Middle Eastern soldier being a reference to the religious and ethnic clashes of the present. Seiji said, 300 years from now, I don't think this problem will be solved. However, I don't want to present a solution to this social problem. If young people ended up searching on the net, it would be worth making the series. Instead of just watching the events, I'm personally hoping we can approach it more closely. For us, it is hard to understand the thoughts of people who are living under war conditions. I want to absorb them and express them on film. Interestingly enough, Setsuna shares his real name with real-life Kurdish child actor Soran Ebrahim, who portrayed the protagonist in the 2000.
This was a pretty interesting thing. There's one of those other instances where
Gundam 00 is no stranger.
Gundam obviously is no stranger to, taking from things that aren't explicitly Japanese. And Gundam 00 was definitely one of those. And I thought it was kind of funny how one or two people were like, it's not based on the Iraq War. It's like the director said it was based on the Iraq War. It's like, it doesn't get much more firsthand account than that.
I think it was also great here that that's a tricky thing there, because you think, oh, I want someone who's really knowledgeable about a franchise you're working on, and you'd think you always would, but something as multifaceted as Gundam, to then have somebody on board who's like, actually, I really didn't know all that much about Gundam. And yeah, see, so you almost, at that point, something like Gundam and working in the anime industry, it becomes very insular in a way. And so when you have someone who's like, no, I really haven't seen Gundam, it's almost exciting then to see, well, what are they going to want to do with it then?
Well, it brings a different perspective. And it's not like at this point, or even during the 90s. At that point, Gundam had been around for 15 years in the 90s. You know, at this point, it had been over 20. It's like, look, it's not like this is the first or second series. You know, Gundam, you know, it could use a spicing up every once in a while. That's why stuff like Iron-Blooded Orphans was so popular.
The more straightforward, all-at-once approach of previous series. Well, the show did not fare as well against its predecessor Gundam Seed.
I'm really glad Kieran was willing to do this. I first knew him as, I believe it was Lord Moonstone, as his abridging
From the serial
handle.
killers?
And that was one of the first things I saw his videos that I just... me and a lot of my college buddies and former roommates, I mean, we can quote that to each other verbatim pretty much, and it's just tickles me every time. And so I'm always going to be grateful to him for that, for just, hey, spreading some joy. You know, he's very knowledgeable about Gundam and loves Gundam, and was excited to be a part of this. And I was just so grateful, and I was excited when I heard from you that, like, yeah, he's in. I was like, all right.
He's a cool dude. Shout out to Kieran.
The anime trivia resource. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook for all the latest facts and trivia.
Thank you once again to Patreon backers in the past. As of right now, we've not been doing that because things have been more sporadic, and we want to make sure people are getting the right bang for their buck, and so
Absolutely.
But for a while there, I think I said it on a commentary last time, that helped when you had a computer went down or whatever and kept things, rolling. So
Yeah, the motherboard was on the way out.
oh, that's right. This
was a fun one to do.
Did you know? The title of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure actually wasn't inspired by the Beatles song Get Back.
Oh yeah, this was another one where he's like, well, actually, you think it would be? And with how much of what we call classic rock now that Araki obviously listened to, it's one of those, like, okay, maybe something's there, but the fact is that Araki is saying, like, no, this is where I came up with it. And
Like I said, this is another instance where I think people just kind of take it and they think it's obvious, so they're like, oh, that's what it is, but then they don't fact check it. They just kind of go, oh, that's what it is, I'm going to take this for the rest of my life and believe that.
I mean, if were I not doing something like this, I would with Get Back. I mean, the Beatles, it's like, it's Araki. Like, I'd go, every stand and user, starts to be named after, oh my god, you did put that in the back. Great getting Great Black Otaku to do this, and I remember first hearing about him and it just being like, this, I think former NFL, or because he's doing wrestling stuff now.
Yeah, he's former.
But yeah, even former, or at the time when I heard of it, like, oh yeah, this NFL player is really into anime and stuff, and it's just, I'm more used to it now, but it's still one of those things I remember when that just wasn't the case. We didn't see basketball players talking about Naruto or
it's that generation.
Dragon Ball. I mean, yeah, it's our generation. It's just
the millennials. They're not afraid.
Our generation.
Oh yeah, this one.
See, and that's why you do have to. That's why we say, a creator's word in some ways isn't. It's not always gospel. It's not always final word on everything. Because here you had a case of like, no, it's not a JoJo's ripoff, and you look at it and go, it's absolutely a JoJo's ripoff. I don't care what you say.
It doesn't get much more. I mean, that's end all. Like, literally.
Yeah, that
literally end all.
Most of the first comic is a forced version of JoJo's gang going.
And apparently he did this because once this blew up and people found out about Diesel through memes and other stuff in the JoJo community, I'm sure people gave him a ton of shit because I think he's on DeviantArt, and he said he was just trying to get the word of JoJo out there, and it's like, but that's not really what you were doing,
I mean, it's just interesting how it's a very different time now, of where if you know, back then he probably thought, you know, oh, this thing in Japan, next to nobody's going to know about it.
I mean,
but now, you know.
To be fair to him, if you can be, Duang, think about all of the times that Americans have adapted Japanese horror, like The Ring and The Grudge, and
but at least then, like, when you're asked about that or whatever, like, you say, yes, this was an adaptation.
This is literally an adaptation of The Grudge or Ringu.
The game would not be released on the US video game market. Speaking of alternate names, at one point the manga wasn't even going to be called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in the United States. Though Viz would end up releasing Stardust Crusaders, the original plan for it was to run monthly and be called The Strange Adventures of JoJo.
The Strange Adventures of JoJo.
Article, the commercial failure of Araki's prior manga, Bao, in the US, coupled with the collapsing of the Floppy's monthly...
I watched that OVA for Bao. It's decent.
Released proper. Thanks for watching. Where did you know anime? The anime trivia...
Funnily enough, the Dio Holy Diver that I have playing in the background, it took me forever to find a decent karaoke version that didn't have words. And I had to. Holy Diver, Dio. I mean, I'd wanted to do that actually for the first one, but I didn't for reasons.
As the Shogun of the reality of wrestling, Marcellus Black. If you want to see...
He's actually moved up to WWE. I know he's on the NXT roster, but I don't think he's moved up to the main roster yet. But more power to him.
Yeah, that's great.
This is your
Here's
wheelhouse,
another
buddy.
fun one. Yes, this. I'm a fan of School Rumble. We did a podcast on that if you want to hear more about that. And I've also been a fan of Tony's for some time, the Black Critic guy. I think he kind of, sort of half-jokingly, like, tagged, did you know, or you or me on Twitter, and was like, hey, if you ever do School Rumble, let me know, and you were like,
I want to say he did.
Yeah,
I think he did.
You go, John likes School Rumble, and I was like, I do, yeah, and I knew Tony did, and then it was just kind of talking to you from there, like, hey, can we really do this? And this was a tricky script to do. There was enough to work with, but there's just a couple things where it took some diving.
Every script, even if you think it's easy, has a unique spin on it, or a unique, not hardship's not the right word, but it's never a cakewalk. There's always something that pops up.
That was great. The whole, again, speaking of that same note, we've been saying, like, Jin Kobayashi being like, no, what people nudgingly wink, what character do you think you're most like? And he doesn't say Haruma, and people go, okay.
This, by the way, the original show, finding clips of that were actually really hard.
I believe you, because I think I tried for a little bit and was like, oh, geez.
Especially that opening.
Oh, I remember the first time seeing stuff like this. It's just... And it's got a good English dub. I want to say, is it Brandon Potter? Brendan Porter? Wow, it's terrible I'm getting this wrong here, but he really... I don't know what he went on to do. He just really didn't do more anime roles. And so when you watch School Rumble dubbed, Haruma just had kind of like, Patria Bircher doing Ryoko. It's just, you strongly associate with that character, and it's this unique voice you just don't really hear much in anime. This was really fun.
This was really cool. I liked this one.
Yeah, because it might be out there now, but at the time, I did not find this anywhere. I was not writing this, but many years before, as an undergrad, I was watching in a class, a Japanese cinema course, and I saw this and I went, wait a minute. I can't remember if I'd seen School Rumble first at that point, or when I was watching School Rumble, that jogged my memory. I go, wait a minute,
Yeah, I looked up some stuff on this. There's actually, I think they're Swedish, a Swedish melodic death metal band that did a song called Hoichi the Earless, or they're called the Drown by Day, I think is what they're called. It's a pretty cool song.
Trying to remember did a blog post on it too, because I couldn't cram it all in the script. Kwaidan, I think, is the film, which was a series of other films. I think the director, coincidentally enough, his name was Kobayashi, and just a lot of crazy connections like that. This was hard to track down because there's just so many rumors. People were like, "Oh no, I remember there was a full season." It's kind of the Bernstein Bears thing.
Bernstein.
People were like, "No, I remember there was a full season," and I looked and I looked and I looked, and I'm like, "I don't think there is." And then we found. I had to go on the way back to find this Japanese
It doesn't help too that because it's an older anime and it's Japanese, it turns into lore, mythic lore.
Mm-hmm.
And this page actually was something that people used a lot, but because they didn't know, like we're saying right here, they didn't know, so they assumed. They're like, oh, they had all of these things and it was real. They just blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
To curb illegal downloading of their intellectual property. Whether or not this was the direct cause of School Rumble's rush conclusion will likely...
It's an interesting glimpse of like 2006, around that area of the early days of stuff like that on the internet, including anime being shared on the internet, and companies in the industry we didn't have streaming yet, and not really adapted to that yet, and this whole, like, how do we combat this? How do we, it was a tough time.
2004 to 2007, it was rough.
Watch Tony's stuff. He's a really cool dude, great guy, and he's passionate about what he does, and he's knowledgeable about, he talks about almost everything, not just anime and movies and stuff, and always signs off that way. Probably always going to be a fan of Black Critter Guy.
Oh boy, Sword Art Online.
Did you know Sword Art Online was almost 10 years old before it even got an anime? Whilst most associate the Sword Art universe with the TV series and its sequel 2014 Sword Art Online 2, it's beginning...
This is another one of those like Attack on Titan and Naruto. I think ever since we started doing this, people go do Sword Art Online. And,
well, see, Sword Art is that one thanks to a number of different forces, we'll say. Even if you make a video about it, people just loved it, shit on this anime. And I'll be honest with you, I was never impressed by it, like a lot of people were, but the hate I feel that people give it, I don't necessarily feel is all that warranted, because it's like putting a carrot in front of somebody, like, it's like, calm down, man, like, I get it,
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Don't dislike a video just because it's about that thing, even if it's not necessarily saying positive things about it, like, people just dislike bomb those things, man.
Very closely resembles Silvercrow's armor, while Leafa is holding what resembles Black Lotus's sword. However, in a 2013 interview with
like we got some diversity here. He's got
I love Ross's voice. I love all of the English voices.
The picture in the end card illustration of episode 22 came from the fact that the illustration was done by the mechanical designer of Excel World, Kabashima Yosuke, and in his connection to Sword Art Online was being playful and created that illustration. Kawahara continued, at this point...
That's really a tough line, and I see why fans do this, and of course, and it's so hard to know. Sometimes it's like, is it just a fun little nod? Is it supposed to be connected? And hard to know.
Well, I think it's fun to do that,
Oh, yeah.
Is often linked to popular MMORPGs or massively multiplayer online role-playing games because of its overall setting.
I think sometimes it's just me reading into it. I think sometimes there's too much of a tendency. People want to say, like, no, this is connected in story. It's connected. And it's like, well, sometimes, I don't know, it just seems like we used to be more about, like, oh, if a director I don't know, it's like Hitchcock, cameos in all his movies. You would just kind of see it as this playful little gesture of nudge, nudge, wink, wink, I'm making this, or I'm the person who also made this, and I know you know that. Doesn't necessarily mean there's in-story connection between works, but
I love stock photos. Find a good set of them, and it's like perfect. That's what it's set up for.
I've not read this work. Still haven't. I had not really heard of this before.
There's a ton of stuff that we've put in these. I'm like, man, I'm going to put that on a list somewhere. And then that list just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
And I'm glad this wasn't something like, it was great in Psychopaths, like we were saying, but you get, a lot of times there's stuff like, Blade Runner, Philip K. Dick. I get it. But then you run across something where there was that something you haven't read or seen or are familiar with, and you go, oh, tell me more.
This was a big point of contention with a lot of people too when Sword Art came out, was the how people thought it was copying .hack and all that, and it's just like, I can see that, but it's like, it's a virtual game, like that the concept itself is not necessarily super original,
Well, we've gotten to where, it's...
Especially now, we've got VR. We can do it for real now.
It was more novel in the early 2000s, to where you could go, hey, these things both kind of do the same thing. But now it's such a.
Now they have stuff like, what is it like? Is it okay to pick up girls in a dungeon? It's like now games that put the main characters of the avatar in a game is not even all that special. But in 2001, 2002, yeah, for sure.
Now looking at two works, you'd be like, whoa. They both did things on robots. One must have copied the other. It's like, well, yeah.
Every mecha series in Gundam, right?
Must be an Eva. Is that a JoJo's reference?
It's a Gundam. Shout out again to the sponsors.
What is this really weird accent? I have no idea where this person is from. Well, my name's Ross. I'm from Scotland in the United Kingdom, and I run a legal...
He knows how Americans work. That accent is different. I don't understand it.
Was this before Brexit?
Thank you guys so much for watching.
I don't know.
I don't remember. When I was saying United Kingdom, I'm like, oof. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is another one. This
oh my
is
God,
one of my
Jello.
favorites. One of my favorite Did You Know anime episodes ever. I love them all. This is just one of my favorites.
This was a ton of fun to work on because Jello has a phenomenal voice. Oh my God. I told him when we talked, if he wanted to, he could take over and be Lupin from Lupin the Third. He's got the voice. He could totally do it.
I think he could do a lot, in which he does. He does do voiceover and voice acting, and he does a lot on his own channels. But yeah, I think about anything he wanted to do in that field, he could do. See, he's got a huge range. So this was great because I love Bakano. Saw the anime before checking out the light novels. I was just so blown away by it. It's so different than a lot of other anime. Quite frankly, the way it's non-linear, way it's cut, the way there isn't a singular protagonist. It's so refreshing. So
I love ensemble casts. I wish more shows and things in general did it.
Mm-hmm. And then this was great, just seeing like a Japanese person today, his interest in this time period, in a time and a place that's very far removed from his own. And boy, I think he really captured it really well. You think about that, a Japanese person researching stuff from the 30s here.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job, and of course, took a fun, fantastic spin with it. And then, yeah, I just had been, again, a lot of people we work with is just like, Mike and or me we're a fan of, and it's just like, hey, would you like to do it? So, Brendan, aka Jello Apocalypse, was very much that for me. And I remember that's, I think, how I found him before he was doing what's he been doing? So this is basically, I think even before he was doing Welcome to stuff, you know, that he was a Bakano fan. I saw Bakano Abridged, and he nailed the voices, and it was witty and fun. And Bakano fans, it seems like there's not that many of us, so whenever you run into another one, you feel like there's this connection instantly. Man, this was a fun one to throw a shout out to Tyler Walker and all the work. I mean, a lot of people do a lot of great work and hard work on all the titles you see, but this one just really struck me when I was looking into it. And if you watch this dubbed, you see it. You see the love and doting.
I don't know anybody who's watched Bakano and come out of it and not thought that the dub was superior to the sub, to the original.
I mean, you can't help it really, because not only is it really well done, but Tyler doing that research and this being based on American history.
Oh yeah,
you can then sound more authentic than a Japanese.
It's kind of hard to make a point for saying that the Japanese version is supposed to be better in an elitist way when it's based in 1930s America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, it's kind of like, okay, bar's a little bit different there.
Yeah.
Because like Bakano, it's a very stylized gangster flick. With such a large ensemble of characters, Funimation had to hold auditions for 6 days with an estimated 140 actors trying out, which, according to Walker, could have been the longest casting process we've had here.
Probably was.
Might still be, who knows?
That record probably has not been broken.
And then again, here's the Japanese end of things, not just the author, and not just the localizing, but here the art team for the anime. They, much like we covered in Gunsmith Cats, you know, they it's easy to look up pictures nowadays, but no, they went there and got a feel for it. And I think it showed through. Again, Bakano, I'm so impressed with. You forget it's a Japanese product oftentimes when you're watching it. You really do. I remember too saying like, Mike, if you can, Brendan's willing to do this. Can you also please ask him would he mind doing it in his quote unquote is what he say, goofy gangster voice, like, please see if he'll do that. And he you know, yeah, sure. And so yeah, just everything came together with this one.
I think I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think, yeah, I don't even know if I brought it up, if he said it initially. But either way, he nailed it. Like, it was amazing. And
made it fun. I saw comments.
Some of the bloopers are amazing, which they'll get out one of these days. But oh my god, it was phenomenal.
And if you like this goofy gangster voice I'm doing, check out Jello Apocalypse for more comic dubs, anime, and other malarkey.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody hire that man.
Oh, this was all you, man.
Yep, this was a fun one.
Did you know? Panty and stocking with garter belt was directly inspired.
We love the United Kingdom, by the way.
We here at Digital Anime.
Anything and everything that has to do with Gainax and Trigger is always a treat because those guys are super fans of everything in animation. And they are not afraid to... I mean, like, we both remember watching Drawn Together when it first came out. It's like, it inspired an anime. Like, it literally inspired people at Gainax to go,
why don't we do that?
Lest anybody ever tell you that those shows aimed primarily at girls and women do not inspire anime. They, in fact, do inspire some of the best.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, then we had, I remember Kyle and the Anime Bomb Boys, they put me on to, there was an actual Powerpuff Girls anime, even made at one point.
Japan was not really into that style. The main team comprised of the 6 of us. Me, Hiromi Wakabayashi, Atsushi Nishigori.
They've got a good thing going, you know what I mean? Just speaking of ensembles, but here in different contexts.
They're quite literally the second generation of Gainax guys. Like, the things that they create are uniquely theirs. They all work together.
Koyama continued. It did not do as well in Japan, as they did not like the main characters to be too sexy.
which was a quote that everybody latched onto, like, lol, what?
It's a very cultural nuance thing, I guess. And what you mean by quote-unquote sexy.
Just one season, but had material for another 6 seasons. What ultimately doomed the possibility of future seasons of the show, however, was the Panty and Stocking staff wanting to break away from Gainax, eventually forming Studio Trigger in 2011.
Crazy.
Pop culture references
I remember just yesterday that was...
Episode 10
We were on the cusp that was happening right
Yeah,
now. Now
Trigger,
that's- it's history.
Trigger had just they're coming into themselves. This is cool for me as a music person, seeing all these references.
Got a lot of them.
Oh my god.
In the Court of the Crimson King. Music video parodies of Lady Gaga's Telephone. And a way
It was also cool to find some of these that the internet didn't know, because what up?
Tattoo, Marilyn Manson, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and the Sex Pistols.
Nobody had that Manson one. That was a good find.
Who are parodies of Optimus Prime, Megatron.
This is something else that's so nice about Gainax, and by proxy the Trigger guys, is they reference so much stuff like this.
For the first 2 characters, Tesho Genda and Seizo Kato.
And then getting the Japanese voices of Megatron and Optimus Prime, like...
It's nice to see a team or a studio or whatever doing something, and in so many ways you go like, hey, that's how I would do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way to do it. They didn't just throw in that reference. They go, no, let's get very much like Chris Sabat went to bat in that Dragon Ball Super episode. Like, no, oh wait, there's an evil Vegeta clone or whatever for Doppelganger for an episode. Let me make a call, and brought back Brian Drummond for that. Oh my gosh,
This didn't go unnoticed, however.
that made my week.
Jonan Vasquez took to Tumblr and commented on the similarity. Well, here's that Gainax show that took Gur out of the whorehouse he was in a new job.
Jonan Vasquez never change.
I gotta say, it's a bit on the simple side for my tastes. What with the jokes, but the
I mean, yes, everybody is unique, but for real, he's unique,
I love Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, and they got a new, as of this recording, got a new Invader Zim movie coming out.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
A number of different
Wow.
Can't wait.
Gainax characters from shows that the Panty and Stocking crew have worked.
Isn't it amazing now? All you have to do is like get enough people on Twitter or whatever to go reboot blah blah blah, and there's a good chance of it happening.
By the way, the reason I focused on the Gainax characters was because to get everybody in that picture would have taken like 2 or 3 minutes. Like, it was insane. Like, you got like Fry right there in the background that we didn't talk about. It's just like, I can't hit everybody.
Yeah, did a great job.
And the Balin.
And I'm glad that other people can then jump in and go, oh, there's so-and-so, you quote-unquote forgot such and such, and makes it fun.
Yeah, do not be afraid to comment in the comment section.
Yoshinari said, so if we were to say what we showed you was 50, what we want to do would be 100. And if we do
Quote was
100,
nuts.
it probably wouldn't be able to air. To which Imaishi chimed in, and it would possibly be too much for the audience as well. But it's like, if we could air something on Adult Swim, we probably wouldn't hold back at
Speaking
all.
of, hey, but,
Hey, Adult Swim, Toonami's the thing now. You brought back FLCL. Why not,
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Panty and Stocking.
why not Panty and Stock and bring it back? Of course, I think right now they're just Gaina. They're not even Gainax
Yeah,
anymore.
that's right.
They're a shell of their former selves.
I've been Giguk from the Anime Zone. You can find me on youtube.com/Giguk.
Thank you very much, Giguk.
I had totally forgotten. I even made this video to do this commentary, and I forgot the list of stuff that was in Season 4.
Oh yeah, High School of the Dead. This is another one again. When did this come out? I mean, it just, I remember yesterday. This was people are like,
I remember working on it, but I just can't, like... I'll tell you what, I wish they would do more, like, quote-unquote pure Romero zombies in anime. Because despite the quality of High School of the Dead, it's the only one that did classic zombies right.
I mean, really, yeah, you think about that. It's weird. You look at, like, JoJos, you look at, or heck, Samurai Champloo, whatnot, we did a little bit. But yeah, there's been zombies here and there, but not, like... And I think we're kind of, although that Idol series is out now, but I think we're kind of over the you know, we kind of reached the zenith of the zombie popularity, you know? I mean, as of this recording, I think Walking Dead's still going, but
I think it is, yeah.
It's cooled off a little bit now. When this came out, I mean, it was
right in the middle of the hotness.
That was the hotness. Zombies. Zombieland, love that movie, man.
That theme that just passed by a second ago, that's another classic instance of Japan going, well, it's not completely the original. They won't go after us for that.
What are they going to do?
It also makes a small reference to former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin.
Oh yeah, the dub.
I remember, I didn't watch all of this dubbed. I think I watched it on sub first, but I remember hearing that reference, being like, "What do you have, friggin' Sarah Palin here?" And just. And that's a big can of worms there, but it's just like, I don't know, stuff like that. I don't see why you're localizing it. I guess people don't like that anymore, but.
Oh yeah, and then we've got a unique controversy to Japan, really, with the Korean star, Korea and Japan not always seeing eye to eye.
It doesn't come close to being the most intense reaction from another country concerning the content of High School of the Dead. As reported by BBC News, China's Ministry
China.
There's 3 of them I'm remembering now, at least in this article. 3 big offenders, quote unquote.
The ministry specifically mentioned 3 anime in particular: Blood Sea, Terror in Resonance, and High School of the Dead.
Terror in Resonance I can kind of accept because it literally has terrorism in it. Even though, you know, you should watch it, it's a work of art, but, you know, I guess. I always love finding stuff like this, like when we can actually find, like, actual concept stuff that can be corroborated. And, yeah, no, I just, you know, I'm a huge fan for behind-the-scenes stuff as far as, like, trivia is concerned, because it's just so cool to see, like, the genesis and the evolution of characters or concepts or whatever, especially if they're radically different.
I think that's a great key. 1, it's just fun, but 2 is that, like, evolution of work. Like, you know, if you're making something, writing or drawing, and you change it a little bit, like, that's normal. That's not bad. Doesn't mean you're bad at whatever you're doing.
I also like it too when they have quotes like this that are directly from books, that are directly from them, because it's like, people, they said this. The person literally said this. And this was another thing too that was right place, right time, because Lollipop Chainsaw had just come out, and it was like, boom, zombies, boom. You know, right there with High School of the Dead, it was perfect. I think Trios X actually has an anime coming out, or did come out.
Was an art book released in 2012 featuring the series as well as Shoji's other work. And finally, did you know the series wasn't even going to be called High School of the Dead? When it was
you don't say.
It was called School Zombie Kill Kill.
School Zombie Kill Kill. I think High School of the Dead was a little bit better title.
I agree. School Zombie Kill Kill. For some reason in English it doesn't sound.
It's way too
serious.
Japanese.
Yeah. It doesn't sound as serious. Yeah, School Kill Kill, like, you know, it's like High School of the Dead. Like, that's.
It's a lot more brooding. It fits the theme a little bit better in the tone.
Sounds like a zombie movie here would be named, you know what I mean? Thank you, Aki Dearest. Great job.
Indeed. This was a fun one to work on as well. Now I remember what the finale is. And it's not this.
I was gonna say, I was like, are we there already?
Monster Musume's Kimihito almost didn't have a face. In an interview with Anime News Network, the creator of Monster Musume, Takemoto Inoue, known by his pen name of Okayado,
this is kind of a crazy factoid. And again, like the VR world we're in now, and it's been like that a long time. Works will, you know, you're living vicariously through a character or a protagonist, and there's that fantasy to it. You know, the avatar component. So it was just amazing here for him to be so forthcoming about it. Like, oh, that's why I made him not
have a face
feature, you know, not very distinctive. Because I wanted that to be easier for more people, you know, and it's like, okay, like
Well, mean, this is,
I respect that. I respect that's his.
A lot of people kind of wondered why, Monster Musume got so popular, but it's like, I think it's just one of those things where I think the market was always there, but it needed a catalyst. It's like a bunch of different things. Like, I think these people were kind of in the waiting, whether you're furries or anything else, like, you get that one thing and then explodes. And it's different. Like, if we're going to be really honest about it, the harem thing is not, it's boring now. It's old hat. It's
pretty
in 2018, 2019, but you throw enough of a spin on that, literally monster girls, and you're gonna get something special.
Gonna get attention, that's for sure.
Speaking of references to the real world, in episode 9 of Monster Musume, it shows Smia sneaking around in a box. There's also a life meter, as well as a soliton radar on the top right. The scenes being shown are a parody from the games in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. This reference was no coincidence, though. Episode 9 aired on September 1st, 2015, the same day that Hideo Kojima's
Press F to pay respects.
Indeed.
And while on the subject of snakes, for Comic Cat 88...
Oh, this was great. I remember seeing this when this first went out.
...only for release at the event. Tekimakura, or hug pillows, are usually 150 centimeters by 50 centimeters, or roughly 5 feet by...
They made a full-length
What makes the Mia one unique was
Mia hug pillow.
I can't remember. Did they say here how much it went for? Yep. Oh my gosh.
Like $800.
Man.
sold at the Takuma Shoten booth.
And they sold out
Sold out in under 1 hour.
In under an hour.
This tab doesn't just affect sales.
I mean, that's gonna be a unique pillow, that's for sure.
Creator himself. In the aforementioned
Where are you gonna put that at?
I was just thinking that. I'm like, what do you do with that? But, I mean, it's the whole, like,
Well, I mean, yeah,
they're not making them anymore, and I was there.
well, that too, but I mean, like, I'm also thinking, like, I mean, you're an otaku. I don't think you're gonna find a spot.
Right, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not, I'm very guilty as well. I don't buy things that are necessarily functional, service necessarily. A lot of times you buy something, I want that. I like that, and I will buy that.
This was kind of funny too. Like, literally, one guy on Twitter was just like, "Oh my god," for this one character, and he was just like, "Damn, dude, okay." And so
Damn, dude.
he wanted to add her in there more. And I mean, hey, you know what? That means that people do not always ignore you if you add them on Twitter, especially if you're fanatical
You
enough.
never know. And yeah, it's. I mean, there's been fan mail for a long time, but boy, with Twitter and the internet,
Boom, instantly.
yeah, such a new dynamic.
When Okayama decided to change the format and make it long running, many fans were against it. When I decided to
I thought for a second there, I'm like, did we get to One Punch Man
No,
somehow?
no.
I was like, wait a minute, that was last.
That's the next season.
Oh, we did One Punch Man already, didn't we?
Did we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Kagi.
I'm losing my mind.
Also many fans who love this series, so that keeps me going. And finally,
That's nice. Fans keep you going.
feathers on her buttocks. According to one of the Omake chapters, because of the
By the way, recording this, or getting a recording from our good buddy here was, I think there was like 4 or 5 different takes of this because he would laugh through like 2 or 3 different ones.
Yeah, I
Noble would. No, I can't blame him, but like I said, one of these days those bloopers will come out in one form
Oh
or
man,
another.
that'd be fun. I like that. He was having fun with it.
He was. He oh, trust me, he did.
He's a jovial guy.
Check out his channel on YouTube.
He's not a lost cause. He's a lost pause.
Lost pause.
Anyway, see you beautiful sons of guns again next time.
Here's the finale.
Oh yes.
Did you know?
Oh my god.
Even with hundreds of episodes, the Pokemon anime still has many mysteries in it. With one mystery,
I'm glad people appreciated this because when you pulled this off, I kind of had this like, are you not entertained? Like,
I mean,
like reflex, like, holy cow, have you ever had Professor Oaks
literally
say to you, are you a boy or a girl? Like, oh my god, that was a funny video finding that.
Hey, well, I mean, this was a fun script to write just because it delved into a lot of stuff that I don't think people have necessarily talked about in the same capacity, but also to have Professor Oak do it, it was just like,
for unknown.
I mean, I
does, however,
was getting nostalgia just recording it with him. I met him in Columbus. You know, we're here in Ohio recording this, and I met him in Columbus when he was on tour. So, you know, it wasn't like it was a super easy thing. I had a one shot at doing it, and that's a crazy story for another time as well, just the build up to that. But, I mean, it came out wonderfully.
Master is much more literal in its verses, and the lines are roughly translated as, I'll get Pokemon, even if through fire, in water, on the grass.
And see, this is foreign to people too, because we don't have the Japanese version.
Right, it's from a certain era where, you know, we just didn't always get, you know, literal translations as close as you can get to that. And again, you think how it's something as big as Pokemon, but it's like, it's the intro, you know, it's great, nostalgic, but you kind of go, you look over that.
Oh yeah,
it's easy to you know.
Moltres, Zapdos, and RK9. RK9's inclusion.
My God.
As it is not considered legendary.
Popping up like,
Pokédex entries refer to it as a legendary Chinese Pokemon. Its inclusion as a legendary on the tablet is more than likely a reference to RK9's influence, the Komainu, a lion-like creature which guards Shinto shrines.
Super cool.
Komainu themselves are based on the Chinese Shi, guardian statues, which connect back to the Chinese legendary reference in RK9's Pokédex entries. Speaking of the origin of
this was cool.
Pokemon.
Yes, this was, man.
To see how many people didn't know this. I didn't know this. I had to verify this, and this crazy. And this little clip right here is from a Laserdisc rip.
Wow.
What up?
Shout out to Laserdisc.
Radio drama of the same name, written by head Pokemon writer at the time, Takashi Shudo. Originally played over a 5-week period, the radio drama told the same story as the short would, and led up to the premiere of Mewtwo Strikes Back in Japanese theaters in 1998. Shudo said that the prologue was also not originally intended to be there, but was added when the episode Electric Soldier Porygon caused the show to go on hiatus. The version that does include the short at the beginning...
I hope nobody freaked out. I wasn't going to show it again.
Yeah, we always want to be careful with that, even though on the previous video you did put a disclaimer.
I did put a disclaimer. And on the re-upload.
While the Kanzenban version was made to be used later in North America, many English speakers from that time may not remember parts of the added short because only certain parts of the short...
Yeah, God, this was interesting too, like its release history and all that. But I can totally see why they dropped it, because it is super duper sad, and it kind of like it fits, but it clashes with the upbeatness of the rest of it. Because you get to the end of it and you're just like, oh my God, like, you can't show this to kids. 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the movie, they're going to be like, oh, shit. And it's like, well, I mean, I don't know if they would do that, but it's like, you're going to be a downer to everybody.
Completely sets a different tone, doesn't it?
Oh, and the Japanese version in general was completely different tone-wise. It was a lot more, you know,
but could also say
kind of existential.
Way more thought went into it. It's like, not quite Mamoru Oshii, but, you know, channeling that.
Can create beings, and that Mewtwo was created through science. Another prominent change in
this one I thought was hilarious. Like,
instead of emphasizing the power of true,
you know, Mew is supposed to be this like cuddly character, and we're supposed to empathize with him.
That only the original Pokemon are
You're an abomination.
I wouldn't lose to you because you're a clone. Like, damn.
Did you know that Pokemon almost had real-world dinosaurs in it? Takashi Shudo has been known to have a lot of interesting ideas regarding
he is something else. Yeah. I mean, I can't blame him though. I mean, it's crazy ideas for a kid's show that he wanted to push.
There's so many things that you take for granted now, but you try to put yourself in that space again.
Yeah.
Like how, you know, you go back to before Pokemon was a thing. You go, why is that the next popular thing? Why would that explode into an international phenomenon?
And though the producers were not on board,
Indiana Jones is strong with this one.
I kind of like it too because it gave the early Pokemon an edge. You know, like you look at a lot of kids shows like Doraemon even, it's like Pokemon had an edge because of Takashi Shudo.
Attack of the Clones here.
Shudo had the Pokemon rebel against their masters, with Pikachu as the leader of the Pokemon, and Meowth acting as Pikachu's mouthpiece for the humans. Shudo said it was like the Roman-era Spartacus slave.
Like he was just throwing that out, like it's like the Spartacus Rebellion.
Like, are you talk about Pokemon, right, sir?
Crazy.
Oh, that music.
Thanks for watching. Now, are you a boy or a girl? And for that matter, what's my grandson's name?
The comments to that were great.
Anyway, where did you know anime?
He nailed this harder than the Death Star nailed Alderaan, to quote someone I heard once.
Yes, he did.
Man.
Phenomenal.
He's so nice, and he sincerely loves that people love him for that role. You know?
Absolutely.
It's so great just seeing him. You know, I think he had a Facebook page for it, and just
he had a Facebook page, but he hadn't quite like gotten it to the point where he was gonna like push it. And then we decided when we wanted to do this video, he was like, I think it's a good time to probably start pushing this thing. And so, you know, it just kind of coincided around the same time. And you know, he posts stuff, like he'll post on Twitter or Facebook, he'll post himself, it's like, oh, this is what Professor Oak is doing, or oh, I'm at this con, or really cool. You know, you should look it up on Facebook. It's Fans of Professor Oak. You can see him. He actually did a recreation of himself as the Professor Oak Pokemon card from the original set of Pokemon cards.
Aww.
And he's holding the Pokemon, he's got the thing up. It's phenomenal. Like he loved being Professor Oak, and I loved working with him, and I mean, he was my Professor Oak. I remember watching Pokemon when it first aired, so that was a whole nother level.
I hope I get to meet him in person someday, because I think
he's a cool dude.
It's very lucky that you were able to, because I was not quite in Ohio yet.
No, you were in another state.
So, man, but I always love seeing that when, you know, an actor or something. I guess this is kind of close on our minds, all of us, because of this recording. The one and only, you know, Stan Lee just passed. Fred Patton just passed. We're talking about you know, old anime fandom, and it's just that question of what's it all about. And yes, it's a job, but you know, when you see someone like Stuart or Stan who have that real love of just the whole fan culture and being appreciated for what they did, I love it. It's one of the reasons I love doing this kind of thing, getting to interact with people like that and sharing the fun with fellow fans. And
you know, sometimes you think like, whether it's, I mean, YouTubers and people who are in the anime bubble, like they obviously remember, but when you get to talk to some of these people, like a voice actor from the past, like you know, Mr. Zagnut, you don't realize like how much these people really truly love the characters until you start talking to them, and it was just like, it just comes right back to them, like it's right there. And so it's always a pleasure, and it's always amazing being able to share that with people, because people are like, oh my god, I haven't heard him since, you know, whenever Pokemon switched, and it's just a ton of fun. And you know, it's hard to believe how much time went into making season 4, and that it's only been like, and it's an hour, and it's just like
flies by.
It's crazy.
Wow. Well, again, hopefully everybody takes our attitude of better late than never. You know, do apologize if anyone was eagerly awaiting this. You know, we'll keep them coming, and you know, just Mike and I, we're both jointly and individually. We're just pursuing a lot of other things right now and juggling a lot of things. And so the output of things like commentary and Did You Know Anime, though they've gone down, we're not out yet. We're still keeping the fun times going, as long as people want us to do it, as long as we want to keep doing it, as long as people want to work with us. So, you know, I see that being a bright future.
Indeed. And I mean, like I said, we've got this latest season has been taking a little bit longer, but like you said, it's just because, we've had our nose to the grindstone and, collectively going back and academic related endeavors and other endeavors that we can't necessarily talk about because legal documents. But no, I mean, there's a lot to be had from Did You Know Anime in the future. And one of the things I really like about going back and watching these is seeing the evolution of our writing and seeing the evolution of myself as like seeing what I thought of at that time and the editing. Like when we went back and watched season 1 commentary, I was just like, I can't believe that that's what I did. But then, you just keep doing it and it evolves and gets better and better. And, I want to thank all of the, specifically everybody who's a fan of Did You Know Anime, but in particular the patrons who helped us, especially during this season in particular, and who helped, are still with us today. But, Bong Master, he was with us from almost the very beginning. Jordan Keeler, everybody who helped us out, we appreciate it greatly in ways that we really can't even articulate. I mean, I think we're articulating pretty good today, but thanks everybody for watching what we do. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, if you ever want a shout out, if you ever run into us at a convention or something, not everybody wants to put themselves out there. I can totally relate to that, but at the same time, if you want, don't be a stranger. We'd love to catch up or give you a shout out or hear from you or anything like that. And so whether it's on the channel here or at a convention near you, or it's by the time you hear this recording, us working on some other, as of right now, top secret project. Thank you, and hope you stick with us along the way.
Indeed. Stick around for the future. It's bright and all that fun jazz. Stay gold.